Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to session 41 of our course of Organization Theory and Design. And today we are moving into the last topic of our overall discussions, the last topic of this course, and we will spend 2 or 3 sessions on it. And this session is the session which is concerned with discussing the use of power and politics and collaboration in organizations. Normally, we do not associate politics with organizations. People sitting outside organizations or students of business, student of business administration or students of organizations or students of management, when they begin their courses and when they begin their journey in the field of management, their basic assumption is that people sitting in organizations are profit maximizers and they're economic and rational people, which is true to a large extent because the overall assumption behind organization is obviously that they are there, the very existence of the organization is for the sake of making profits. And for that, the best described model is considered to be the rationalistic model of decision making, rationalistic models of prioritization, rationalistic model of using the various variables and then putting things together, even strategy making. But in real life situations, the rationalistic model does not always fit in. There are always situations, there are always contingencies where the role of politics, power, collaboration will creep in, and the decision making will occur not because of rationalistic reasons, but because of political and because of the collaborative or because of the power building reasons. So that is why we have today, we are going to talk about this important issue of politics in organizations. Now, political behavior in organization is obviously something which is our topic today and which will interest us today. There are various tactics which departments or individuals use to build their power base. First, we will describe how the managers, how the departments increase their power. And then we will discuss the issue of politics and how the various tactics are used to increase the political maneuverability or political behavior of the individuals. But first, the base of the issue of power. And for that, we will describe power as it rests in the departments, not with the individuals. So there are various tactics which the departments, which the managers use so that the power base of their own departments increases. Because naturally, those departments which have more power will have more influence. And when they will have more influence, they will have more control over resources, they will have more control over the process of decision making, they will have more control over the process of strategy making, and they will have more control generally over the organization and its various variables. Therefore, it is natural that departments would like to increase their power. And let's see what are the various tactics or what are the various tools available for the managers through which they build the power base of their departments. One of the tool which the managers commonly use for this purpose is entering those areas which are of high uncertainty areas. For example, if we are talking about a university and we are talking about the department of academics, and within academics obviously there are sub-departments, department of management, marketing, finance, accounts, so there are various departments. Now, if one of these departments, the functional divisions of academics, they develop very high expertise in research, then what will happen? What will be the result of this? For example, say if management department has developed a very high profile research activities and 3 of their faculty members have got papers published in the last year, and 2 more of their faculty members are going to attend international conferences, and they are also collaborating with other institutions to do some more research projects. Now, in that way, that management department has entered in an area of high uncertainty, because research is not a culture which is prevalent in our country. So a university, a private university, for example, when it is formed, its aim is also considered as profit making. And the university, in spite of having excellent faculty, in spite of having excellent research facilities, does not pay attention to the research and they start paying attention to teaching people and giving them degrees and charging their registration fees. Now, in this scenario, and this is the scenario which is prevalent in the country, in this scenario, if some department develops research skills, enters into research, then obviously it is entering into an area which is not very certain. Because what will happen to the future of those research projects? Will they get published? Will they be accepted in some conference? Will they make difference to individual people? Will they make difference to the department? That is not very clearly known when the move was initiated. So that is, but when the objective has been attained, when the papers have been accepted for publication or for conferences, then in a university that department will start standing out. Other departments and other faculty members will try to follow that department, because ultimately in academics, without research, everybody knows that without research, the department or the teacher or the individual will ultimately perish. So they will try to mimic, or they will try to benchmark that department which has taken the lead. So in this way, by entering into an area which most people are not entering, an area which is not risk-free, an area which is not a commonality, a department has built its power. Because it has built expertise and capabilities to cope with the uncertain situation of research for that particular university, and it has increased its departmental power base. It has become a role model for other departments to follow. Now, in the long run, maybe the departmental head of that particular department will also become the chairman of the research committee of the whole university or the whole school. So this way, the importance of management or importance of that particular department which has invested in research will be highlighted even in the future. Another tactic, another tool through which departments build their power base is to create dependency. And in the example which I just gave you regarding the research endeavors of a particular department in a university, that department has actually also created dependencies. Because when the marketing department of that university and the faculty member of the marketing departments, when they will start their research projects, they will take guidance from this department which has already done it. So that is creating a dependency. Dependency can be created not only through capabilities, as we have seen in this case, or skills, but it can also be created through material, important material resources, through information, knowledge, or doing additional work for other departments and then creating dependencies. And the example of the Department of IT is a good example, because in recent years, IT department has assumed a vital, a pivotal role in any organization, because people from other departments, they depend on IT for solving their information technology related problems. And without IT support, it becomes very difficult for departments to function. Therefore, IT straight away enjoys a power-based status because of its superior skills and knowledge in the area of IT. So through creating this dependency, IT department has actually increased its power base. Similarly, if you look at the service concerns and we look at the health institutions, or we look at a hospital, then obviously there are departments in a hospital. For example, if we are talking about a department of surgery. So within a hospital, a surgical department and the specialties of surgical departments like orthopedics and chest surgery, they create a dependency because, and that dependency is mutual, because there are certain things which the surgical specialist can do, and there are certain things which the medical specialist can do. So imagine a patient who is lying in a gynae ward and who needs a cardiac or a medical opinion on her condition. The cardiology or the medical department in this particular case has created a dependency on which the department of gynae will not depend and will seek the help of medical specialist or cardiologist to take advice about their patient. So dependencies are also created to increase the power base, and the basic reason and the basic way or the tool through which dependencies are created are in fact again entering into areas of high uncertainty, taking certain risks which other departments are not taking, doing something additional which other departments are not doing, acquiring some additional knowledge and resources which other departments don't have, and these resources will include human resources as well. And we are all familiar, especially those people who were working in late 80s and early 90s, or maybe even before that, that whenever a person comes with a post-graduation from abroad and he enters a department, that department automatically becomes a bit more powerful because it has a person who has more capabilities and knowledge and skills as compared to other people. So entering areas of higher uncertainty and creating dependency is one way or one tactic through which departmental managers increase the power base of their departments. Another tool, another tactic to increase the power base of departments is to provide resources, because resources are scarce, resources are rare, resources are limited. If a department can provide those resources to other departments in the organization, then that department will obviously create dependencies. And the example which I will quote here, I'll take again from the university scenario, and we'll come back, we'll in fact go back to the example which I gave in the beginning. The department in a university which has created dependencies because of its work in research, because of the initiative it took in research, and now after 6 months or a year, if some external agency has recognized that those research efforts and have now provided funds to the university, then that means that this department of management was the one which brought the funds or which brought the resources to the university, which will now be allocated to other departments. And in this way, the department of management has again increased its power base because it has brought in resources, it has brought in the lifeblood. And also take the example of sales department. Sales department in any company is a department which is concerned with selling the product. It is concerned with generating the revenue, which is again the lifeblood of any organization. So sales department, through its provision of resources and obviously the financial resources, the sales department enjoys a special power base in a company which sells its products. And in a hospital, similarly, the department which is providing the maximum resources will have more power. It might be a small department, like in a case of hospital, it might be a very small specialized unit like a pediatric cardiac surgical unit. But since it is catering to very specific cases and very specialized and complicated cases, and it is also bringing in revenue, and it's also giving the hospital a brand name and a repute. Therefore, even that small department will have more power as compared to a large department which is not providing as much resource to the hospital as this small unit is providing. So, providing resources of any sort, financial, human resources. I mean, a department where people get trained for better communication, or where they get trained for better coordination, or where they are trained for better skills. That department also will create a dependency for other departments, because it is here that the finished human resource is further polished and is given further capabilities and skills, and that individual becomes, since he becomes more useful, since he becomes more productive, therefore other departments will start depending on the department providing the resources. And another situation, another way of increasing the power base of the departments is called the satisfaction of strategic contingencies. Any department which can satisfy the strategic contingencies will have more power. And contingency, as we know, is a critical event. It is something which is unique, and it is something which is very specific according to the situation, a task for which there is no substitute. So therefore, departments meeting these contingencies will increase their power base. For example, in a hospital or in any service concern, the Department of Repair and Maintenance has the capability and the ability to meet the contingencies, which might be strategic, which might be operational. But if the mission of a hospital is to provide excellent service to the customers, then excellent service will include not only the treatment but also the indoor facilities available to the patients and to their attendants. In that way, the repair and maintenance, the housekeeping part of the hospital, will become a strategically important issue. And any contingency or day-to-day problem, a breakdown happening in a room, a breakdown happening in the air conditioners, or a breakdown happening in some other repair and maintenance activities, like a TV not functioning, a fridge not working in a room, or the floors are not very clean. So they're all basically contingencies. They're all situations. No other department of the hospital can come and solve these contingencies, because they do not have skills, they do not have manpower, they do not have the expertise to do that. Therefore, in that situation, the Department of Repair and Maintenance, since it can meet those strategic challenges or those strategic contingencies on daily basis, on a routine basis, therefore it will have a power base which other support departments will not have. So in short, we can say that allocation of power in an organization is not random. Power is the result of organizational processes that can be understood and predicted. So we can't just say that power occurs on the allocation of power occurs randomly, or it occurs without any direction, or it cannot be managed. The power basis or the power building process in the organization can not only be managed, but it can also be predicted and understood, because we can forecast and we can foresee that in this particular institution, this department will create more dependencies, this department is the one which will enter in an area of high uncertainty, this department is the one which will bring more resources for others, and this is the department which will meet these strategic contingencies which are occurring on daily basis. So therefore, now you can see why we cannot apply the rationalistic model in deciding the power bases, or we will further see when we come to politics, that the rationalistic model will not always fit in the real life situation, because real life situation is full of contingencies which we cannot always foresee. But any person or any department which is there to fill in the gaps provided by those contingencies will obviously enjoy a certain status, and that status will give that department a power which other departments do not have. And when we talk about political tactics for using power, then we are moving in a different direction, because in organizations, many decisions are made through political processes. As I said in the beginning, it looks on the surface that organizations are staffed by very rationalistic people which have a rationalistic decision-making process in place and which are striving only to increase the profitability of the company. But that does not happen all the time. You cannot apply a rationalistic decision process all the time, because rationalistic decision process has certain assumptions and has certain requirements. And the first of that requirement is that you should know all the alternatives available. You should know nearly your information about various inputs to decision making should be complete. So in reality, it is very difficult to know all the options. In reality, it is very difficult to have all the information. So in reality, with limited information and without knowing the options, that is how we live. We don't know every time when we make a decision. We don't know every time what are the complete list of options available to us. For example, when we are driving, we have options, but we don't think about options, but we just do it. And in running a company or in running our own lives, all the time we are given options, we are given alternatives which are not visible to us, about which we do not have a complete knowledge. So even in the rationalistic decision process, you will remember that we talked about the notion of bounded rationality. That bounded rationality means that we will not have complete information. We will not have access to all the options or alternatives, and we will not always pick the option which is rationalistically the best option. So bounded rationality paves the way for politics and paves the way for power bases in organizations. Because bounded rationality means that certain individuals have very little information, certain other individuals will have maybe more information. But those individuals having more information will probably have something else which does not match with the people which have less information. So ये चीजें real life में प्रिडिक्ट नहीं की जा सकती, और बाउंडेड रैशनैलिटी के कॉन्सेप्ट के जरिए पॉलिटिक्स और पॉलिटिकल टैक्टिक्स इन ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस एंटर. उनके पॉलिटिकल टैक्टिक्स जो हैं वो यूज क्यों होते हैं? दे आर यूज टू इन्फ्लुएंस द डिसीजन आउटकम्स. सो इफ डिसीजन आउटकम्स आर नॉट following the rationalistic model all the time, it means that there is a room for political maneuvering so that the decision-making process is influenced. Because we see that in organizations there are disagreements, there are uncertainty, there are uncertainties about future, there are disagreements about issues, there are conflicts and confrontations. Now, in spite of all these, organization still arrives at a decision, and that decision is not arrived at through rational processes alone, but the help of political decision-making framework model is also taken. And political tactics for using power to influence decision-making include many tools, but we will discuss a few. And these can be applied to individual as well as to the departments. For example, assume we apply the political tactics purely on an individual basis. And Let me ask you this question, that if you are inducted in a company, अगर आप किसी कंपनी में हायर होते हैं, how will common sense guide you to develop, let's not say call it a political influence, because that is not the word which we normally use, but how will you increase your influence in that organization? One is obviously through your work, through your competencies, through your capabilities, and through your professional work. That is fine. But in spite of this, if you do not have relationship with people, if you cannot initiate and retain and maintain relationship with people, can you be called successful? Hardly. So the first thing which individuals or which departments can do to increase their political influence in organization is to build coalitions, or to simply build good interpersonal relationships. I mean, it sounds very simple, but that is the first step. That probably explains the whole concept of emotional intelligence and why emotional intelligence is considered more important than academic intelligence for long-term success. You can have a GPA of 4 and still be very unsuccessful in the practical life if you do not have emotional intelligence. And you can have an ordinary GPA of 3.2, 3.3, and still when you enter the practical life, when you enter the organizations, still you can make a great name for yourself if you have that quality of emotional intelligence. And what is that emotional intelligence? In nutshell, without going into the detail of its components and without going into the details of how it works, emotional intelligence is simply our ability to initiate, maintain, and retain our relationships. So if we are academically brilliant, but we cannot retain or maintain or initiate relationships, then our effectiveness will be highly compromised. Whereas if we are academically average, but we are good in initiating and maintaining relationships, we are good in building coalitions, we are good in building relationships, then our effectiveness will be much more than that person which is academically high, but emotionally intelligence-wise is not very high. So that is the first tactic. The second is you expand your networks. Now, expanding your networks will mean that you, in some cases, you reach out to help other departments. Even if they have not asked for your help, you reach out and you help them. For example, again, coming back to a university, you are a person or you are a department who have skills in the usage of certain statistical packages, for example, and you want other departments to take benefit of that skill of yours, because you know that in research issues, when it comes to data collection, data analysis, data reduction, then statistical techniques are important. Without knowing them, your hold on research or your hold on data analysis will be very, very weak. And considering this, on voluntarily basis, purely on the basis of voluntary participation, you start a 3-hour weekly program or 3-hour weekly class on statistical packages. Now that is reaching out to help other people. That is expanding your network, because I have seen people, I've seen such courses being conducted by people in universities, and I have seen very, very senior level people sitting as students attending those lectures, because they need that knowledge and they cannot find that knowledge. They don't have time to find that knowledge. They don't have, in some cases, resources to find that knowledge. When they find it in their own organization, they come and they join that class. And the person who is, or the department who is doing it, is actually increasing its network, not only that at that person's level, but also at the departmental level. Imagine you are a junior faculty in some university, and if you are teaching the seniors some skills which they don't have, you are directly building coalition or directly building a network with your seniors. That is another way of increasing your power base, increasing your political influence, or using the political tactics for increasing your power base. That is also a way of doing it. A third way to increase your political tactics for using power, or a third political tactics which is used to increase power, is controlling decision premises, which means put your best foot forward. Which means, for example, if you plan to hold a meeting with the employees, with the departmental heads, or with your colleagues, and you also control the selection of agenda items, then the agenda formation and the order of the agenda items can control decision premises. For example, if you don't want an issue to be discussed in detail, you might not put it in agenda. Other people can bring it, but since it is not on the agenda, it will not be given the priority. But the issue which you want to give priority to, you will put it in the agenda, and not only in the agenda, you will probably put it as item number 1 or item number 2. So by doing that, by controlling the agenda formation, you have in fact controlled the decision premises, because now you have controlled the flow of the discussion, you have controlled the order of the discussion, and you have controlled the decisions which will come out of that discussion. So that is how, by using this political tactics, which can be political, which can be because of authority, or which can be because of your sharpness or shrewdness, that you have increased your own power as compared to others. Another political tactic which is commonly used for enhancing power is enhancing legitimacy and expertise of an individual or of a department. I'll give you an example of a situation where a finance director is not satisfied with the work of an HR manager. Now, finance does not have a line authority over HR, and finance director will probably find it hard to fire the HR manager straight away. So what if he brings in an HR consultant, if he convinces the top management that our HR projects need evaluation, and he brings in an external consultant, an external HR consultant, to evaluate the HR work going on inside the organization. And that HR consultant also highlights or also agrees with the financial director that the work being conducted in the HR department or the HR projects occurring or inside the company, they are not up to the mark and the work needs a lot of improvement. Now, this external evaluation by an external individual will further substantiate, has now in fact substantiated the initial finding of the financial director, has given him or her the legitimacy to fire the HR manager. Because if he had fired him in the first place, it might have created certain waves and currents in the organization, but now by doing this, by hiring an external consultant, he has created a legitimacy which others will find very hard to challenge. Similarly, if you can enhance your expertise through further gaining of knowledge or skills, you can also increase your political presence, you can also build your power base. Now, power and politics is not the only thing which happen in organizations. Organizations also collaborate. The departments also collaborate with each other. individuals working in organizations, they collaborate with each other. And therefore, the third important issue which we wanted to discuss today, along with power and politics, is the issue of collaboration. How do departments or individuals working in organizations enhance their collaboration? Now, we have already seen and studied how integration is created in a company. We have studied some integration devices through which we saw that integration could be created within a department or within an organization, and we know that the formation of teams, the formation of task forces, the hiring of project managers, the hiring of full-time integrators, they are all attempts to create integration. Whatever the reason of integration could be any. It could be globalization, it could be the pressure of the competition, it could be change in your consumer taste, it could be change in technology, anything. But if integration is required, it is not only to save you from being wiped out of business. When human beings work together, they like to collaborate. It is in human nature that they like to collaborate. And teams, task forces, project managers, full-time integrators are all those devices which we have already studied, which create integration. Another device which we discussed in some detail, where permanent integration is required, because you can have cross-functional teams and you can have task forces and project managers on temporarily or on non-permanent basis. But if you want permanent integration, then you will probably need more than a full-time integrated. Then you will probably need a horizontal structure, a structure which permanently supports your integration needs and your integration endeavors. So all these tools are there for enhancing collaboration. Similarly, in those organizations, recently in our country, for example, we didn't have much of union or trade union activity, but when it starts, and it has been legalized now, when it starts to work on its full scale, there will be labor management teams. Those teams are also integrators because they are integrating the process of collective bargaining between labor and the management. So, एक तो वो तरीक़ाकार हैं इंटीग्रेशन कोलैबोरेशन को बढ़ाने के जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में ऑलरेडी मौजूद होते हैं, और मौजूद नहीं होते तो हम उन्हें क्रिएट कर सकते हैं, टेम्परेरीली भी कर सकते हैं, परमानेंट बेसिस पे भी कर सकते हैं. परमानेंट पे हम तब करेंगे व्हेन द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन demands a very high degree of collaboration. But from time to time, any organization will demand collaboration, and for that, the collaboration can be created through teams and task forces and project managers or project directors and integrators and some other devices when we were discussing the chapter about inter-organizational linkages. Another way to increase or enhance collaboration is to use confrontation and negotiation. Because it is not always that confrontation is in fact a conflict. Confrontation basically means a disagreement, a difference in opinion, which as human beings we should start taking confrontation as a norm, as a normal thing, because we cannot have the same opinion all the time. We will differ. And that difference in opinion, if we take it that way, will in fact increase our knowledge because it is giving us a different point of view. But what comes out of that process of negotiation, that is important. Negotiation जब हम करते हैं, जैसे मैंने लेबर मैनेजमेंट टीम की एग्जांपल दी, तो negotiation में हमारी क्या स्ट्रैटेजी होती है, that will decide whether we are increasing our collaboration or whether we are decreasing our collaboration. Because if during negotiation we are coming on the negotiation table with the strategy of a win-win framework, then the negotiation will increase collaboration, because we have come to the negotiation table with a mindset that I don't want to win, but I want we to win. I want myself to win, plus I want the person sitting next to me to win, and I want the organization to win. So when we come with that mindset or with that paradigm of win-win, then we are enhancing collaboration. But if we are inducting in confrontations and negotiations with a framework of win-lose, where we want to tell people that who is the boss around, then obviously those people who lose out, or those departments who lose, will not collaborate with us. Then we might be increasing our power base very temporarily, or we might be creating an impression about ourselves in the organization, but for that organization, the collaboration is not occurring, because we are not using the win-win paradigm. We are using a win-lose situation. The organization is not a battlefield. It is basically, it's like a family, where you move forward in a direction. You move forward, and you will move forward at the speed of your weakest link. So if the weakest link in your organization is too much confrontation and too much battles among departments, then obviously that organization will not move forward. Another way to increase collaboration is to bring in third parties. Third-party consultation can be brought in at the level of labor management unions. Consultants can play their role, or third-party consultations can be brought in to improve quality of work, to improve systems of work, to improve communication among people, to create a culture, to help in strategy making. There are many, many issues in organizations which organization will not be able to deliver or do by itself all the time, especially in large organizations. In the periods where they need analysis and strategy formation, they will need third-party consultation. That consultation will further enhance their collaboration among each other, and also with that consulting company, and through that consulting company, maybe with the industry, because the consultants are coming from industry, and they can work as collaborators between industry, among the industrial units. I remember in 90s, when there was a strong trend of getting ISO 9000 certifications, consultants actually were acting as collaborators between different companies, and were promoting the cause of quality for the whole of industry and for their own survival as well. But the way they marketed ISO 9000 to the industry, that created a collaboration within industrial units and within Chamber of Commerce of different cities, and that was how the achievement of various ISO certifications was actually done. And also, collaboration within a company or a department can enhance if we follow a very simple method of following the member rotations. Putting people in different teams for 1 week, then another team for 2 weeks, another department for 3 weeks, and they are not only collecting skills and competencies and capabilities, but they are also making relationships in the meantime. I mean, if they go to a person who works normally in the electrical department, he spends some time in the mechanical department, it is not that he is collecting mechanical skills alone, but he is also interacting with people who are working in the mechanical department, so a link or a collaboration is created. That link or collaboration which is created in such a way with other departments will bring in further harmony, further unity of purpose for the whole company. Similarly, creating shared missions and shared goals. Now that is an organizational development or OD activity, where companies involve their employees in the creation of their mission statements and in the creation of their goals and objectives and strategies. What happens is that when middle managers sit with top managers and they help them in the formation of strategies and in the formation of their long-term objectives. They are not only helping the company by giving the company their point of view, which is very, very important because they are controlling the action. They are also building relationships with the top management, and top management is also building relationship with their employees. Through this process of creating shared missions and shared goals, the company is having a two-way benefit. One is that the classic dichotomy of action and thought, which occurs if people are not involved in the process of strategy making, is diminished by bringing in people and making them sit together. And the second is that when people sit together, then they form relationships with each other. Then they start identifying with each other. Then they learn about each other. Then they know each other better. They know each other's concerns better. They start understanding each other's behaviors, attitudes, personalities better. And when that happens, then people start caring for others, then people start taking responsibility for others, and people start taking initiative for others, because now they understand their problems in a better way. Now they don't take them as adversaries all the time, but they start taking them as partners, as peers. इस तरह families में है that if in families you have created common goals and common objectives, then under the umbrella of those common goals and objectives, you can remain united for a lifetime. But if there are no common goals and no common missions and no common objectives, then the families will obviously tend to fall out. So this important issue of collaboration, it serves two-way benefit to the organizations, that it gives people skills, it gives them more technical skills, and at the same time it creates more social opportunities for them to have to build relationship with one another. So in the light of socio-technical model, if we look at it in the light of that model, which we have already discussed, collaboration is an important tool, and the mechanisms through which collaboration is created, as I've already mentioned, will give the company two-way benefit, because it is serving the socio-technical aspect of the organization, not only the technical, not only the social. Because when we put people in teams and task forces, we don't expect them to have only good time. We also expect them to work. And at the same time, we just not expect them to come up with better work, but we also expect that they will start living with each other in a better way as well. So we are promoting both the social and the technical competencies and capabilities, and social and technical interface पे जो important interface है किसी भी कंपनी में, उसको हम बढ़ा रहे होते हैं when we are enhancing collaboration. Because technical people, they meet each other for technical purposes, but during those meetings, during those lessons, during those lectures, they also start knowing each other as individuals, as persons. And what are those individuals to whom we attach the label of a friend? Friend is that person जिसके साथ हम, जिसको हम जानते हैं, जो हमें जानते हैं, जिनके बारे में हम ज़्यादा जानते हैं. As compared to a colleague, we will call a person a friend if we know him a little bit better than the first person. And how do we know people? It's not always our choice. It can't be. Because life has certain framework and certain limitations under which it is spent. So we can't have our own way all the time. So in organizations, we cannot, and we don't. We can make relationships on the basis of our choice, but then organizations, as I said, are not only socializing entities. Organizations are actually there to produce some products and services, and that needs a serious amount of work. But if that work is done in a way where people collaborate technically as well as socially, then the process of working can become more enjoyable. And remember, when work becomes enjoyable, then There is nothing like that, because then you don't have to work, because you are having a good time while you are working, you are enjoying your work. So you are in fact not working, you are enjoying. And you are working at your best when you are enjoying. तो इसीलिए बहुत सी कंपनीज में और यूनिवर्सिटीज में जो एटमॉस्फेयर दिया जाता है, दैट इज दैट पीपल शुड फील कंफर्टेबल, पीपल शुड फील एट होम. Because if they feel comfortable and if they feel at home, then they will perform better. Then their productivity will increase. Many studies in organizational behavior and many studies in human behavior have shown that if we improve the working condition of people, not only the physical working condition of people, but also if we give them good colleagues, if we give them good learning opportunities, if we give them good relationship forming opportunities, their motivation will increase. Because they will start identifying with that company. And once they identify their self with the company, their loyalty with the organization increases. And once the organization loyalty increases, then the organizational commitment increases. और जो effective commitment हम जिसे कहते हैं, where the employee develops an emotional attachment with the organization, that is the extreme form of collaborating individually with an organization. That is the extreme form of commitment, because beyond that, there is nothing more than a highly developed organizational commitment. There is no better precursor to intrinsic motivation than organizational commitment. Because if people are not committed to organizations, they will not be intrinsically motivated to work for those organizations. Extrinsically, maybe they can, but then they can be extrinsically motivated to work for any organization. So that means they can change their job and go somewhere else. But if they have an effective commitment with the organization, because of the culture or because of the way the work is done, or because of the top management, or because of any other reason, then they will not leave the organization, then they will not go to other organizations, because now they don't have a material, they don't only have a material cause of being there, but they also have emotional cause of being there. And whenever we find an emotional reason for our behavior, we can not only understand and explain our behavior better, but our behavior becomes more forceful. Because that is what is called as a spirit. जिसे कहते हैं कि इस बात में तो spirit नहीं, या इस team में spirit नहीं. Spirit क्या चीज? Is the emotional commitment with that cause. And that emotional commitment, if it is created through collaboration, then and collaboration does create emotional commitment, because it gives people an opportunity to interact. It gives people an opportunity to learn, and at the same time interact with one another just like they do in their families. So today's discussion, we will sum up here that we discussed the issue of power, we discussed the issue of politics, and we also discussed how collaboration is enhanced in organization, and how power bases are enhanced, and how the use of politics can enhance power bases, because rationalistic decision making model does not work all the time, so we have to use politics and power in organizations. We will continue this discussion inshallah in our next session. Till then, it is Khuda Hafiz. Thank you very much.